Thank you. Feels comfortable. So thank you so much. Jenny already said this, but thank you for coming out on a night like tonight. I was thinking to myself that had it been last night, there might have been like, what, 7 of us? Everybody else would be working late in the park with a picnic dinner and a bottle of wine. So this is a testament to your HR nerdiness. So thank you for being here. Yeah. So thank you again. Rebecca Clements with Moz. I'm VP of People Operations. So I have HR, recruiting, and we have an amazing team called Team Happy, and that's our operations team, and it's a 3.5 person team. And their mission is to make sure that Mozzers have what they need to be happy and productive at work. Now, it's reception, it's facilities, it's equipment, it's the kitchens, it's employee events, it's all of those things, but they do an amazing job. And I've been in the tech space for most of my career. I like to tell people, especially a young crowd, that I started in tech in the early days of e-commerce. I started in tech when Amazon was only selling books. How's that for you? So that's a long time ago. I got my start in a hospital here in town and then found my way into tech, and I've never really left. So the topic for tonight, let's get to it, is engagement. And I'm really excited to share some of the things that we do at Moz. I certainly don't consider myself to be an expert on engagement, but as Jenny Michelle said, that I think we're doing some really interesting things at Moz. So if you walk away with 1 or 2 things, little nuggets that you think, you know what, maybe we could do something like that, that would be like the hugest form of flattery. So let's get to it. A couple things before I jump in. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Moz and then go into what we do. But it occurs to me that engagement, I mean, it's so hot, it's so relevant, we're all talking about it, we're all paying attention to it. In this job market, I mean, it's critical to have an engaged team or you lose them. Or worse yet, maybe that you don't lose them, they stay and you know, they aren't doing their best work. Back in the olden days, we used to talk about employee satisfaction. And of course, that's so limiting. Like you would just ask people, how do you like this thing at the company? Are you happy with your benefits? Are you satisfied? And it was not the right approach. And engagement science, as we know, has come a long, long ways. And so I love that it's really focused on trying to get underneath how committed are your employees? How loyal are your employees? What drives that loyalty? And what motivates them to stay at your company and do their best work? So, and I will talk a little bit about the measurement that we do at Moz. So, with that, all right. My assistant here. So about Moz, we are a software company based in downtown Seattle. We make SEO, or search engine optimization software. We've been in business for about 14 years. We're venture capital funded. You know, we aspire one day to take off like this and to become public. We're growing at a more modest pace right now. Our mission is pretty straightforward here. It is to simplify SEO for everyone through software, education, and community. So again, software is our primary product. We've started doing more training with prospects and customers. And then we have this massive community. I meant to look up the number, and I apologize I didn't, but a massive community that follows us and interacts with us every day on our website with our Q&A forums and blogs and Whiteboard Fridays and those kinds of things. So check that out. Also, I'd be remiss if I did not introduce you to Roger. He's our lovable mascot, and he'll be featured throughout the presentation. He actually kind of comes in this, we have this big costume that he sometimes shows up in. He won't be here tonight, so don't give any fear of live robots. You don't have to worry about that. That's not going to happen. Okay, so just a quick thing on our products. Again, SEO products, 2 products. One, Moz Pro, really sort of your nuts and bolts SEO tools that help customers and help companies be found online. So they help your search results, you know, come up to the top. My daughter just said to me the other day, she's 16, she's like, Mom, do you ever go to the second page of your search results? And I'm like, no, honey, no, that's what my company does. And then the second product is Moz Local, and that's for location management. So it helps companies be found, bricks and mortar companies. So that's that. We're in the process, by the way, of bringing those 2 products together, which will take some time. Fun facts. As I was looking at this, I'm like, fun facts and a few opinions, not all facts. Over 37,000 customers worldwide. just over 47 million in revenue last year. Again, it's a modest increase in revenue this year. We've got a great team. We're about 150 people, mostly here in Seattle. We do have some contractors working from their home offices in country, and then also some contractors working in the UK and Australia. Great board, a really, really supportive board. I mean, if any of you work for VC-funded companies, you know that sometimes they are less patient than others, and our board is incredibly patient and supportive. This is just a fun fact. It may come up later as well, but we had a charitable donation match of 150% at Moz. That'll come up as I talk about our values. Love that. And then, yeah, growing and profitable. And then the world's cutest mascot. So, next. Okay, so that's about Moz, that's about me. So we're gonna talk about engagement. And there are a number of things, right? Like every day, every interaction, communication, decision, project team, I mean, the engagement comes out of all of those things. We don't have all night. Do we have all night? Do you want to stay for a while? Can we get more wine? Okay, no, we're here for a short time. So I'm gonna focus on 3 areas. I'm gonna focus on tag fee, and tag fees are a set of core values. Then I'm gonna talk about well-being at Moz, and you notice I didn't say wellness, but well-being, and I'm really gonna highlight 2 programs there that serve to support the well-being of our employees. And then I'm gonna talk about the importance of checking in and also measuring engagement. So with that, let's do it. Let's talk about tag fee. So tag fee is our set of core values. Did anyone look online and see what they are? Can anyone tell me what they are? No, you don't count. I'm going to introduce you later. Okay. So I will get to what they are, but let me just say that tag fee has been part of our core for a very long time, for about a decade. The story goes, I was not there, but shortly after we got our first round of funding, our investors sat down with our founder and our current CEO, who was COO at the time, and said, you know, you got this $1 million, like you're gonna start to hire people. You have to be really intentional about what kind of culture you're gonna create. So they spent lots and lots of time in conference rooms and talking about what kind of a company they wanted to build, what kind of a company they wanted to work for, what was important to them, what did they value. And so tag fee was born out of that. And I'm here to tell you that it's real, it's alive. It inspires everything we do. It inspires how we build products. It inspires how we communicate and interact with one another. It inspires how we interact with our customers. It shows up in hiring, onboarding, et cetera. But I will tell you, when I first interviewed and started with the company, I was a little cynical, right? Every company has values. And then you walk down the halls and you say, what are the values? And people are like, I don't know, I'm not sure. So I was a little cynical. And you can hit that next, yeah. Yeah, I was a little cynical, but it's for real. It really is, and I knew shortly after I arrived at Moz that they were absolutely very much for real, and that was because I felt it every day, I heard it every day, I saw it, I observed it. It wasn't in writing, it wasn't on posters in the hallway. It just showed up in how people interacted with one another. So with that, I'm going to tell you what they are: transparency, authenticity, generosity, fun, empathy, and exceptional. Wouldn't that be horrible if I was just stuck on like, what is that second E? I don't know, what is it? Somebody, thankfully. So just a little bit about each one, very high level, and then I'm gonna talk with you a little bit about how we make them come alive or how it shows up at work at Moz. So transparency. You know, I've been in the tech space, like I said, forever and ever. I have never worked for a company that has been more transparent than Moz. We are very willing to, we believe that information is power, right? So we're very willing to share nearly everything and everything and anything with people in the company, and we share a lot of information about our company externally as well. So transparency is about being open, it's about being honest, it's about being curious, it's about taking risks. It's about being open to feedback. That's something we've worked a lot at, being both open to giving and receiving feedback. So it shows up in a couple of ways. We do share our financials with all of our employees every month, and then we go deeper every quarter. We started publishing our E-team, our executive team minutes, and sharing those out each week with our managers. We're talking right now about whether or not we should just share them to all staff. I think we probably will, we just haven't yet. And then also, if you check out on our website, I mean, we've had some very transparent blog posts by both our former CEO, our founder, Rand, and Sarah. So it's quite refreshing how willing we are to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that's transparency. Authenticity. I notice, like, it says authentic. I tend to say authenticity, same. Is really about respect. It's about respect for ourselves, for each other, being true to ourselves. And our CEO, Sarah Bird, has said this often, and I've repeated it even more often, and that is that what we strive for at Moz is to bring our best authentic selves to work every day. So if my authentic self is to get really ticked off and slam the table, that's not what we're aspiring to. You can't use the excuse, but that's authentically who I am. So we really aspire to bring our best authentic selves to work. And I'll say a little bit more about this later, but we do absolutely believe and value that the whole person comes to work. We don't ask people to leave certain parts of their lives at the door. We ask for the whole person to come to work. You can hit the next one. Well, one of our best ways of making this come alive at Moz is something that I absolutely adore and love. We do lunch and learns. Probably a lot of your companies do lunch and learns. But our lunch and learns are typically Mozer-led. Occasionally we have vendors in, people from the outside in as well. I think we have a nonprofit coming in tomorrow. But lunch and learns are a chance for Mozers to tell their personal stories, their passions, what fuels them outside of work. Occasionally it might be something at work as well, but I want to share some of my favorite ones. Mara, you've maybe been to a few of these as well. We had one of our software engineers do a lunch and learn on his struggles with anxiety, panic, and depression. And it was like, I mean, that's hard for anyone to stand up there, but to stand up in front of your coworkers and talk about that struggle. And he told me he received 30 plus emails that day and the next day saying, thank you for talking about that. I struggle with that, or my friend struggles with it, or my family member struggles with it. We have a trans woman who, upon request, we've asked her to do it now 3 times. We're like, Maura, you have to tell your story. And she has just told this very powerful story about her transformation. And Mozers show up every time. I've been twice. I'll go again when we ask her to do it again. And then, got a personal one, which, I'm gonna cry right now talking about it. My CEO, Sarah, and I did a story about adoption, and I'm an adoptive parent, and she gave up a child when she was in high school for adoption. And so we told adoption from 2 different stories. Both of us stood up there, cried. I'm like, oh, geez, I didn't want to. I kept putting it off. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But that was, and then you have people come up to you and say, wow, I didn't know that about you. I really love that. Or can I pick your brain? We're exploring that, or we're struggling with this. So such a cool way to really invite people to show up authentically as who they are. So, made it through that one. All right, generosity. This is easier to talk about. So generosity at Moz shows up in traditional ways, right? Like it shows up, we target to pay above the midpoint. We target to pay at the 75th percentile. It shows up in that we do merit increases, salary increases, not once a year, but we do them twice a year. Why not? Twice a year. It shows up tons of food and drink. There was a party going on when I left to celebrate a launch. So it shows up in traditional ways, but really what it's about is about being in service to each other at the company and service outside of the company as well. I mean, even coming to speak to this group, that's expected that Mozers are really sharing and giving of their time and energy and knowledge. You can hit that. Oh, also maybe just to mention here, has anyone been to we call it the Mozplex, our Moz offices? Well, Lenny, you have, Mara has. We donate our space as well. It's a beautiful meeting space. And we donate it to nonprofits, community groups, other tech companies for meetups. We do hackathons there. We've done all weekend events, so really, really cool, and we donate it. We limit the number of events we do because it does require staff, but that's who we are. Okay, you can hit it there. Oh, and one more thing about generosity. So in terms of giving of ourselves and engaging with the community, we have 3 primary community partnerships that we're very, very engaged with and spend a ton of time with. You might be familiar with some of these. Ada Developers Academy, an all-women's coding bootcamp, a one-year-long program. The second half of that is in-company internship. We've had an Ada intern with us for nearly every cohort. Year Up is a fabulous program. If you don't know them, check them out. It's a college alternative for young people ages 18 to 24. We've sponsored a number of Year Up interns. Similar model, they go to school, a class, and then they intern. And then we have a number of Year Up grads working for us as well. And then Unloop, and I don't know if many of you are familiar with Unloop, I know Lenny is, brand new nonprofit, just so remarkable what they're doing. They are teaching women who are incarcerated how to write code while they're still in prison, and then when they're released, they pair them with a company to intern. And we had the first ever Unloop intern at Moz. She was with us August through March, and amazing, she transformed during that time. So I encourage you to check out Unloop as well, but that's all about generosity, right? It's about giving back and partnering with the community to make the tech industry better. One last thing just to say here, that TagFee, diversity and inclusion does not show up specifically in TagFee, but we are very, very committed to closing the gender and opportunity gap in tech. So that's some of the ways in which we do it. I'm a talker, here we go. Fun, we're at the F in TagFee. Fun is really about cultivating a positive work environment. Yes, it's about really fun employee events. And my favorite one, I just have to tell you, is last year we did a Moz Chopped event. And it was Mozzers that were the chefs, and then we had a Mozzer judge panel. And you could only use Moz food items, and that's things like Cliff Bars and cheese sticks and peanut butter pretzels and whatever else we have, dried mango. And then you could use only, we don't have a stove, so you could only use like the panini press or the Vitamix or, anyway. And then there were secret ingredients. I can only remember we had animal crackers, which was really, really, so very, very fun. So again, cultivating a positive work environment, certainly fun events, but it's really about positively tackling challenges, celebrating wins, showing gratitude and appreciation for each other. And one thing that we just started about a year ago is really fun peer recognition program. It's called Cheers for Peers. This is like a front and back of the card. It's a little old school, but it's really sweet. And it's just this little card we had one of our designers design. And they're little boxes on both floors in our building. And you can just write little notes of appreciation, put the person's name on the front, stick it in the box, and then Team Happy puts a gift card in, just a little $10 gift card for a local eatery or coffee shop, and delivers them on a monthly basis. So just again, this way to build this positive workplace where people really appreciate each other. We're at empathy. I just have to say, I love, 10 years ago, you did not say the word empathy in a corporate setting, really. I feel like it just wasn't, I don't ever remember talking about that. And today I feel like this is really increasingly becoming important in the workplace. So empathy is all about, Moz is all about putting yourself in the other person's shoes. We talk a lot about assuming good intent or assuming best intent when you're engaged in conflict. And I would say the one key way that empathy shows up and when it really takes precedence over transparency is when someone leaves Moz and leaves involuntarily. We err on the side of empathy. We just sent an email like that recently and said, look, this person's gone, we're going to err on the side of empathy, we're not going to talk about the details. Suffice it to say, we wish them well and encourage you to reach out to them and help out if you can. So that's empathy. And the last E, we're almost there, is exceptional. And at Moz, exceptional is really about two things. It's about delivering awesome, it's about being outstanding, it's about going the extra mile. But it is also about being the exception and about not always doing everything like everybody else does it. So hang on.
Okay.
What is my, yeah. So my example here, I just had a blank, blanked out. The example here, exceptional would be those 2 times a year merit increases. I mean, that's unusual. 2% of the companies out there do that. So that's TagFee. Any questions on TagFee, or should I just, keep?
Is there a question? Okay.
Okay.
Keep rolling. We'll go
Okay,
ahead.
we're going to go to well-being. Hang on. Question.
Oh, how do the topics of lunch and learns come up, especially with their personal stories?
How do they come up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we have is just super simple. We have a calendar that Team Happy manages, and then we invite Mozzers periodically to sign up for lunch and learns. I talk about it in onboarding with them, and then we'll remind them, quarterly probably, so they can just hop right onto the calendar and sign up for any topic that they desire. I mean, to my knowledge, we've never said, no, I don't think that's such a good topic. And there have been really fun ones, like I told, like the heavy duty, someone had a passion for home brewing. So he brought in a bunch of samples and, talked about that. We've had Mozzers talk about their travels. We've had Mozzers, we have someone that's really interested in fashion, and he's done like the history of fashion over decades. So, really super fun ones as well, and then heavy, intense, deep ones. So, yeah, there's no rule about it better be a tearjerker or you better not talk about it. Go deep, yeah. Okay, so well-being at Moz. Well-being at Moz is really a couple things. You notice I didn't say wellness because we're really thinking about the well-being of our Mozzers. And so what we know at Moz and what we believe at Moz is that, again, we take a whole person approach. The whole person comes to work. We believe that people are complex. Our lives are sometimes kind of messy, and all of that comes through the door every day. And I think it's really hard for people just to compartmentalize and say, well, I'm going to leave my divorce at home today, and then I'm just going to go in and be super productive. So we believe that's not possible for most people. So what we've done is we built a series, really, or a bunch of programs. We built a way that we support the whole Mozzer. So I'm going to talk about two of those. And the first one is our coaching program. And maybe before I forget, I do want to introduce Mara Clark, who is the managing partner and founder of the coaching firm that we use, which is Candor. So Mara, you can say hi. This program was in place before I got to Moz, and I continue to be floored by it. Here's how it works. We've retained a professional coaching firm. They have certified coaches, a big roster of them, and then any Mozzer can pursue professional coaching for any reason at any time. They can have up to 10 sessions per year. They don't need to ask permission. They don't need to go to their manager and say, you know what, I'm having difficulty working with you. Could I have permission to do coaching? So they can just pursue it. They don't have to ask HR. They reach out to Candor, and then Candor does a little bit of an assessment, pairs them with a coach, and off they go. We have about a third of our employees at any one time actively participating in coaching, so 45, 50 right now. And what we know is that they come from across the company. Virtually every team has at least one or more people coaching. And also we have a pretty even spread between ICs and managers. And so when I interviewed, yeah, you can hit it. When I interviewed at Moz, this was also my reaction. I was like, it was kind of like tag fee. I was like, okay, so wait a minute. So when you say coaching for everybody, like, are you sure? When you say everybody, what does everybody mean? Everybody? Yeah. So I was like, wow, I've never heard of this. Who does this? Moz does this. I only have 3 gifts. I'm sorry, I meant to have more, but okay, you can hit it. Here's what our coaching program looks like. And Mara, you may jump in if you'd like. There are 5 different growth tracks that people can pursue. And so at the top here, you can see that's really kind of the category. And then I've listed sort of the output or the topics that they focus on in that category. So tag fee urgency, that's about how to be tag fee and produce high quality results on time. How do you drive through? How do you drive in an environment that isn't always supportive of a driver? So that's what tag fee urgency, that's a new concept that Mara and I have been talking about. So that's about time and energy management. It's about delivering results. Collaboration, pretty straightforward, right? It's like dialing up, how do I work well with people in my team, outside of my team, different styles? How do I influence? And so productive conflict will show up in that category. Often they'll be talking about having difficulty in working with a different style. Also, how do we make meetings more effective? Communication, again, ability to hone your communication skills, have greater influence, get better at giving and receiving feedback. Leadership, again, is about leadership presence, getting better at delegating, taking accountability, creating a vision for your team, or even if you don't have a team, how to move into those roles. And then we also have a custom track, and that's me, isn't it, Mara? I just go in every time and say, okay, here's what I want to talk about today. So custom is really just, it could be any number of things. How do I move my career forward? How do I show up more authentically? It could be, lots of different things. And so that is custom designed with the Mozzer and the coach. We also have on-demand coaching, and on-demand is just like what it sounds like. You get out of a meeting, it got kind of heated, it went sideways, and you think, I have to process this. I have to talk to someone about this. So you can reach out to your coach, or you can reach out to Candor and just say, you know what, can I get on the phone with someone like later today? And that could be 1, 2, or 3 sessions. So that's how coaching works. What I will say, what most people will ask is, wow, how much do you spend on that? And I'm not going to say the exact dollar amount because it's millions of dollars. No, that was for Mara's sake. She's the only one laughing. They're like, wow, millions of dollars? They're writing that down, $2 million.
I'm sponsoring the next event.
Yeah, exactly. No, what I will say about it is that we spend less on coaching than we do on hiring virtually any Mozzer. So it's a commitment, financial commitment, but we certainly couldn't hire a software engineer for what we pay. And then secondly, a lot of people will say, well, okay, you invest all that time and money, and how do you know if it's working? And so we do a little bit of measurement. We do a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. So that's mostly self-reporting, anecdotal kind of feedback. But our fundamental belief is that what is good for Mozzers is good for Moz. And we know that we believe that people that sign up for coaching are finding benefit in it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be committing an hour a month or an hour every 6 weeks towards it. And not to mention, we hear when we ask them, we're going to move into check-ins pretty quickly, but we hear this from them, like, whatever you do, never take that coaching program away. People love it. So thank you, Mara. Okay, so next slide. So that's coaching. And we can talk a little more about it, and I'll hang out for a while. Okay, so the next program that Mozzers love, love, love is paid vacation. And that's not a typo, as I'd like to say. Truly is paid vacation. You know what? I'm going to go back. I'm ahead of myself. Paid vacation is this. We have a very generous PTO program, paid time off. Every Mozzer gets 21 days per year to use during that calendar year. It doesn't carry over. We don't pay it out when they leave. It refreshes at the start of the year. So the expectation really is that you take 21 days a year. Now, I refer to it as a hybrid unlimited because we are okay with managers approving more time if a Mozzer requests it. But the guideline is 21 days. We were worried if we went to a fully unlimited that people wouldn't know how much time is okay. So, that was my own bias. So we continue with the guideline. So paid vacation is a $3,000 vacation expense budget that Mozzers can use for any vacation-related expenses each calendar year. So it could be used for airfare, hotel, meals, drinks, pet boarding, to fly grandma and grandpa out to take care of the kids, to have a surf lesson, whatever it might be. The only thing you can't use it for is if you're into buying souvenirs, or if you want to get a whole new wardrobe for your cruise, you can't, like tangible goods you can't, get reimbursed for. But it's such a beautiful benefit. And it engages Mozzers in that, the requirement is that, am I going to build this? Yes, I am. I'm just going to build it all.
Oh, okay.
The requirement is that you go on your paid, and then you come back and you tell your stories and you send your pictures. And we typically do like quarterly paid lunch and learns as well. And it's so great because, like I was thinking about this, I don't know if Moz attracts travelers or if Moz converts people into being travelers. But I can tell you that, a young man on my team, he and his girlfriend went to Hawaii on paid just not too long ago. He proposed to her there. He's like, I never ever thought I'd be going to Hawaii to propose to my girlfriend. So it does, it changes lives, it fulfills dreams for Mozzers. So just some of the fun pictures. And I think, like, you could be sitting there saying, well, you know, how the heck do you afford that one? Because 3,000 times 150, we can all do the math. So what I will say is, we pay people a very generous salary, but we do not pay any cash bonuses. Executive team doesn't have cash bonuses. Nobody in the company, with the exception of our very small sales team, they do have sales incentive pay. So that is in part how we fund this. And I think the way it engages is that, you know, it's one thing to take your PTO and feel kind of guilty and, you know, have people kind of look at you sideways. It's another to know that, you know, people all around Moz are like, take it, use it. You better use your paid. So it's kind of a rallying cry. And of course, families love it. Families love it, right? Mozer families. So that's paid vacation. And then there's one more thing on paid, and that is introducing, Sarah. She's all pixelated there, isn't she? That's our CEO. It's a really cute picture. It's from the Moz Chopped event. That's what she won. She was the Moz chef that won. She made a Mozzy Cristo sandwich. Is that clever? She planned that. So double paid, we introduced, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. And double paid is sort of this anniversary paid. For completion of 5 years, every 5 years of service, you get double paid, so $6,000 to spend. And then you get 1 additional week of PTO, or 5 additional days of PTO. So that was a fun thing that we just started doing recently. So, okay, the last section. So, checking in and measuring what you treasure. I had a boss a long time ago that always said, well, you measure what you treasure, and so it stayed with me. So this, of course, applies to engagement. What I will say is that related to this, we stopped doing traditional performance reviews about 4 years ago and really focused on building a culture of real-time feedback. We are not over any kind of a finish line yet on that. If anyone has any suggestions, I'm up for it. But we've been working on it. You can do it, yeah. Getting into your job, Jenny, sorry. Okay, so here are all the various ways that we check in at Moz, and I'm gonna focus on engagement survey. I have a little story to tell. But we do an annual engagement survey, we do engagement check-ins as needed, onboarding check-ins with new hires, kind of a 45, 60-day check-in. Of course, exit feedback as well. Right now, manager upward feedback, sort of 180 feedback. We've done that for the past 3 years. We're launching it tomorrow for this cycle. Gives managers feedback from their directs. Town halls, manager meetings, one-on-ones. We're gonna start doing 360s. And let me just say that, does anyone use Culture Amp? No one? I love Culture Amp. Such a great product, such a great platform focused on engagement and effectiveness. So check them out as well, so you can hit it. So checking in. So when times are good, checking in, piece of cake, right? No sweat. So we did our first annual engagement survey back in February of 2016. And so I don't love just don't judge me on the quality of this slide. But anyway, you get the idea. Things were really happening at the company. We had this new multi-product strategy. We were growing. It was an exciting time. This is just a sampling. So engagement, 81% overall. You can see favorable, that orangey or that yellow color is neutral, and then unfavorable. And these were the 5 questions that comprise that engagement factor. So things like this is an HR leader's dream. I would recommend Moz as a great place to work. 94%, what? That's so awesome. I'm proud to work for Moz. So just really positive. We knew this about Moz, but this really just confirmed or affirmed what we believe to be true. Also, like the top 5 drivers of engagement, Culture Amp has a really cool driver analysis that allows you to really hone in on what are the top drivers. So this is what we saw. I'm not going to walk through all of it. By the way, it also compares to benchmark data, industry data, and then you can also compare it to past years' data. Really cool. So, we got some really good hard feedback here. Innovation, not so good. But overall, that experience, February 2016, so positive, and it was so much fun. We shared out the entire set of results, all verbatim comments with all Mozers. And they loved it, they ate it up. We did, put some action plans in place, et cetera. So yeah, when we, everything's awesome, right? Like everything's good until it's not so good. And so yeah, that's okay. Until it's not so good. So I'll take you to August of 2016. 2 weeks after we were named the second best mid-sized company to work for by Puget Sound Business Journal, we did a massive layoff at our company. We laid off 60 people. It was, and I've been through, I've done tons of layoffs and I've been laid off, and it was the most painful thing I've done professionally, because at Moz, it's this very tight-knit community where, it's more than coworkers, right? It's friends and family, and so very, very, very difficult. And so we did that. The month after, people hardly spoke to each other. It was just awful. 2 months after, I wasn't noticing much improvement. 3 months after, maybe a few signs here and there, but we decided, we should check in with people. And then I thought, it's too early. It's going to be bad. Let's not, it's too raw for people. Let's not check in. And I had a conversation with Culture Amp, and Culture Amp said, now's exactly the time to check in with people. Be brave, do it. So I went to the next executive team meeting and said, what do we think? How do we think our teams are doing? How are people doing? And most of the E-team around the table is like, yeah, no, I think my team's coming along. I think we're doing well. I'm pretty sure, yeah. We're getting back on track. And I said, I don't think so. It feels like a morgue out there. It's not. I think we should do a check-in. I think we should do an abbreviated engagement survey. And so they agreed to. We all agreed to. And so this is what we got. This is what I stood up in front of the company in December of 2016 and said, wow, we heard you. Thank you. Thank you for telling us what you really thought. We had a moment there where we thought we were recovering. We're not. So did this short engagement check-in, talked with employees about it, talked with managers extensively about it, put some plans in place. You can see, it was mostly about leadership and about confidence in company, no surprise, right? So we did some things, but mostly, it wasn't like we didn't do a program. We really focused on leadership presence. We started manager meetings. We started producing E-team meeting results at that time. We focused on strategy and communicating that and making sure everyone understood and bought into it. So it was like every communication was directed at, turning this around. So then we did our annual engagement survey for 2017. We did it in November of last year. So just wanted to share that, again, just sharing the engagement factor. So these 5 questions, better, right? Much better than the previous year, but still a ways to go. So engagement overall at 72% favorable. In 2016, it was 81%, I believe. But starting to restore belief in each other, belief in company. Still work to do, though, around strategy and where the company was headed. That was mostly what we heard, and leadership. And let me tell you, we're all leaders in this room, and as a leader at Moz, that is the hardest thing to do, to stand up in front of your group and say, give us another chance. Give us some time. We're going to get this thing back on track, and that's what we did. So this is just a little bit of a summary, trying to show the progress between November of 2017 and November or October of 2016. So you can see some nice progress. Again, the blue represents favorable, that white color is neutral, the gray is unfavorable. And then the comparison is, I don't have the percentages up there, shame on me, nor did I memorize them for tonight, but showing significant progress. So that felt good to share that last December with Mozzers. And we still have work to do. We identified a couple of, I have maybe 1 or 2 more? No, top drivers. We'll skip over that. We'll keep going here. These were really the 3 focus areas. Leadership, really, again, restoring full confidence and belief in leadership. Having people believe that we are innovators, that innovation is important, that we are innovating our products, and then that our business is in a position to succeed. There was still some concern about that. And Culture Amp has some really cool action planning tools, and we work the action planning tools, and I had a bunch of ideas, and I went to the manager meeting and said, okay, here's kind of what we're thinking. And the managers basically said, like, especially around innovation, I said, well, we should do like a company-wide hackathon, and it's gonna be great, and here's how it's gonna work. And the managers basically said, like, look, stuff like this, you don't put, which was great feedback, and I believe it, you don't put programs in place. It's every conversation, it's every meeting, it's every communication, it's how we plan, it's how we motivate. So it's a work in progress today. I can't stand it. If anyone asks me, well, what specific, how much further along are you? I don't know yet. We hope to do an engagement check-in this summer, but that's been kind of the focus area. And then I leave you with our other secret engagement weapon, which is Moz Dogs. Moz Dogs. We got Draco, who is in charge, Letty and Baxter. Baxter just passed away, so dear. He was the sweetest. He was just walking around the office. Then we've got Pony, and dang, who is that? That's Sadie. I know you're gonna know Sadie, and then that's Max. And Melissa would kill me for forgetting her dog's name. But anyway, Moz Dogs, and they're all wonderful. And so we have maybe, I don't know, 10 to 15 dogs at Moz any given day. They're rascals. My dog can't come to work because he's too much of a rascal. Golden Retriever, 4 years old. He loves it there. He loves Moz. But anyway, that's it. That's all I have. Questions? Any more questions that I can answer? Anything else you want to talk about? Yeah.
I find it pretty awesome that you have the transparency with all your financials, for everybody in your firm. Do you guys do anything for the personal finances of your actual employees? What I didn't talk about tonight is we do have an internal program called Mozzer U. It's our internal training program. It got off the ground a couple of years ago. It really, has like great legs right now. It's like moving forward. It's running. It's the kind of program now where people say, oh, we should do a Mozzer U class on that. And we've had more Mozzers teaching Mozzers. So yes, we have done, as part of our wellness track, our well-being track, we have had a couple of financial planners in to talk about money management and a couple of different classes. We don't offer an ongoing benefit, for financial planning at Moz, but yeah, we have done a little bit of that. Let me also just say in Mozzer U, a couple of really cool classes, which I'd be happy to do intros on, any of the trainers that we've used, but we have a really cool series on rank and power. It's a 2-part series, and it's all about understanding our own rank and societal rank, and then to use that for good. And it's really, really quite powerful. Also, implicit bias, obviously huge, allyship. We're working with Sarah Irvin at Ada Developers Academy, and it's so incredibly powerful. And I've been through a ton of unconscious bias and implicit bias courses. She's really, 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 really good. And then we've done some really neat courses with Mara, peer coaching and coaching for managers as well, that have been really well received, that people love. Any other questions? Yeah?
I have a couple. First one's easy.
Thank you.
I know.
Yeah.
So how often do you do those engagement surveys? So you're getting that data, but at the same time not giving people survey fatigue.
Yeah, so we do an annual, the big, broad, comprehensive engagement survey once a year. We've only done it twice. I want to be clear, 2016, 2017, we'll gear up in the fall to do our third. We did that engagement checkpoint as well. I have a concern about survey fatigue as well, but I was, again, talking with Culture Amp. This is like a commercial. They owe me. But what they said was, you know what? Their experience is that it's less about survey fatigue and more about lack of action fatigue. So that really is what tires and exhausts people. It's like, okay, you keep asking my opinion, but dang it, nothing changes. So, yeah. And I think we're not where we need to be on the action piece of it.
And my second question is, I actually work for a marketing agency,
Oh,
are
nice.
very familiar with
Of course,
Moz.
yeah.
And for people that aren't familiar with Moz, they might know Moz as the mustache. So obviously you've had a change
Yes.
in leadership. And
Yes.
I know you talked a little bit
Yeah.
about your layoffs, but how do you keep people engaged when there's those big shakeups at the top levels of the company?
Yeah, yeah. Your name?
I'm Sarah.
Sarah. So what Sarah's referring to is that Rand Fishkin, our founder, so Rand and his mom Jillian, like Rand left college and worked with his mom to start Moz. That's the story from way, way back when. It's so powerful that Rand will tell the story that he and his mom like racked up, I think, $250,000 in debt, didn't tell his dad, her husband, that they had done this. And then ultimately they went from, it was just a blog, and then it was a little SEO consultancy. And then I think in 2007, it became a product company and moved to a product strategy. So Rand left the company end of March this year. He's still chairman of the board, so he's still on the board of directors. I think we've had so much change at Moz in my 4 years there. But with Rand leaving, what we did there, right or wrong, I don't know, but we communicated the fact that Rand would be leaving 1 year earlier.
Wow.
So we did it really, really, really early. At that time, I think it was a little bit of a, it was hard for some people that worked closely with him. Many people didn't know Rand well. Rand is also a very in-demand speaker. He speaks all over the globe. So he's gone a lot. But the people that work closely with him, I think we're also happy for him. Like, it was time to go do something new. He didn't, he did a blog post. You can go out and read it. He's really excited about moving forward. He was sad and not quite ready in some ways to leave Moz. So it's hard, but what we did was we were really transparent very early on, like no surprises. Let's get this out there as early as possible. So, yeah.
So being that culture is such a big part of the strategy, how do you guys do, when you hire new people, besides, being qualified, that they are the right cultural fit?
Yeah, well, a couple things. We do focus on tag fee and culture fit as early as the phone screen. And then for on-site interviews, absolutely that is part of that. Not every single person will interview for culture, but there will be, we'll make sure in the pre-brief that someone is covering that. And then always with on-sites, well, not always, assuming someone is there over the lunch hour and there's a lunch interview, that's always a tag fee culture interview. So it's not the time to grill them, it's a time just to have a chat and to talk about what's important to them, kind of who they are, talk about tag fee as well. We just hired, well, related to change, we just added a new CFO, a new CMO, a new VP of sales. So CFO and CMO started within just a couple weeks ago. And our new VP of sales started last September. So lots and lots and lots of change. I'm trying to remember this question. Oh, I asked the CMO candidates when I interviewed them, I said, okay, so tag fee, you know all about it, you read about it. Yeah. Which part of tag fee do you think you're gonna have the most difficulty adjusting to? And it was really great. It was like really interesting open questions. I used to ask the opposite, right? Like, what part of tag fee resonates most with you? And so the opposite was great. Like our CFO, you can imagine, he's like, well, I think transparency, because I'm not used to the kind of transparency you guys have here, So, and that was great. And we talked about it, and it was so. Anyway, I don't know if that fully answers yeah. And then when we hire people, we do a couple of different meetings. The generalist on my team does like the heavy duty benefit deep dive, and then I do a culture onboarding session with all new hires as well. Yeah, which some of the slides that you saw, the tag fee slides, those are the slides, yeah, that I use.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. There's plenty of food and drinks for anybody that wants to hang out. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.